Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Runaways Season 1, Episode 2, Rewind. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for the episode and everything MCU and adjacent leading up to it. And yeah, this episode I also found a lot to love about. Let's see, just so I don't forget, now that I've gotten a couple more looks at it, I really love the badass face of Alex's mom, and I think I really appreciated the way that sort of the sisterly relationship between Molly and Gert really came through in this one. Or I suppose in this one we more see that Gert sometimes really takes care of Molly. In the first episode, we more saw like her being annoyed with her, and I think that might be it for the sort of overarching. Yeah, I remember seeing there were some people who thought this was too early to do, because it's like the kind of thing that this episode does is something, it's tried and true in TV. The thing of like you saw what happened here, but what about what happened slightly earlier? And yeah, a lot of the time you'll want to wait until the show's established. I think for me personally, I was so interested in the stuff that, the earlier that day chunk of the episode, which was most of it. There was not an awful lot of us seeing what actually happened after the end of the pilot or season opener. And I think that might just about cover, yeah, so the, yes, going chronological. So yeah, we open on them, running away. I like the thing about, what if they didn't see us? Well, then we're getting our cardio, and um, yeah, the thing about how like no, legit, they didn't see anything. They're just not sure if the kids were, like by the end of the episode, like Jeffrey knows, because he found yeah. But the little, I actually don't even know what you would call that thing, but the thing he finds on the floor at the very end of the episode, that's obviously going to, he knows that must belong to one of the, his son's friends. And let's see, I think that might just about, yeah. So they managed to get to the, back to the thing, and the door closed behind them. Yeah, I've played Thief 2. I've been there. And yeah, the let's see. I think that was it Thief 1? It was one of the first two for sure. Anyway, but I like the thing about, first Alex tries, and then, I'm still not 100% sure about his name, and certainly for now, he is very much Jock. you know, he's like, yeah, it helps to have a little muscle definition, and then he tries, then he's like, it's heavier than it looks. That was pretty funny. That was a good, yeah, and it's one of those things where, you know, the joke comes from the actual characters and their relationship to each other, and yeah, you know, then it's like, okay, all of us push, and Molly hears the, you know, their parents getting closer, and it activates her super strength, and she pushes, and it seems like by the end of this episode, no one realized she like developed super strength, which, like, understandable. Like, it, she didn't have it last they checked, and let's see the but yeah, that was a good moment. Yeah, and yeah, so they, you know, they rush off, and the um yeah, you know, Alex says, you know, the if, you know, go to the guest room, I have a plan. And, you know, Nico's like, I trust you, Alex, which was sweet, you know, because that, yeah, like, evidently they had something special, the two of them. um and yeah, you know, so they run to the guest room, and that I really do appreciate about the thing about, you know, jumping to earlier that day. We just see all the lights go out, you know, so we don't know if this is like, you know, it turns out to have been Alex's plan, and I was hoping that it would be. But yeah, there was I was thinking, wait, is this like part of what happens when, you know, Pride realizes someone's on their property, maybe, or something? You know, is this just like phase one of a multi-pronged response to, but yeah. And yeah, so we go to earlier that day, and I can already tell I am not going to be able to do this in chronological order, so it's going to be whatever order. But the let's go with uh, uh, um, Nico's parents. I maybe I'll learn the names eventually, but there's so many new characters all at once. But yeah, the thing about, you know, she says she's gonna put, you know, the force field over it, and the oh right, and we do also, we see her turn off the force field um in the regular, yeah, and the yeah, so the I think we saw that before the never mind. So yeah, we she, you know, and there's oh right, her name is Tina, because he says real mature Tina. It's one of those things where, you know, ultimately, like, she turns it off almost immediately, and it's not like he was like scared, he was like mildly perturbed. So, you know, is the kind of thing that almost doesn't have a point, but the point is she is someone who puts barriers between, you know, like, I don't know, maybe if didn't Violet Parr didn't get past that that stage, perhaps, or, you know, no, the you know, because he says, you know, if, like, Nico needs to hear you say that you miss Amy. And yeah, we have the thing with Jock and his mom, and it is one of those things where, you know, the she keeps making excuses for scientist dad. and the yeah, it is, there are people who will make excuses for their abusive partner in real life. And let's see, that's part of why it's extra important to make sure that if someone is, abusive or potentially abusive to the people around them, that, yeah, double check with the people they're alone with if they're okay or if they need support. I think that might... Right, and we do also get that there's the thing about, he hasn't laid a finger on you in a long time now, so she's not pretending like it never happened. And let's see. And he points out, yeah, because, I'm stronger than he is now. And I have heard that is the... Yeah, that is... Yeah. Moving on. In real life sometimes as well, is what I mean. I think the next... Let's talk... Yeah, so with Alex's parents, yeah, genuinely, I'm excited to see what's Darius, what he's getting out of copying. I mean, obviously, Darius was hoping that copying Jeffrey's phone would mean, money. I'm wondering if he's going to realize, oh, there's actually something more going on here. But yeah, that was very, very nicely done on the... So yeah, the cars pull up and armed criminals step out, and at first I was gonna ding this for 2 episodes in a row. Apparently every dangerous like criminal in the let's see, was it... No, yeah, I think it's just the see, I don't remember, did they say, was it LA maybe, or did she leave LA to go to wherever it is? I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, is every single criminal that isn't white collar in the and obviously in real life white collar criminals are significantly worse. And yes, I have indeed myself, let's see, not face to face, but when I was a kid, the house was broken into. That was very upsetting. So I'm not someone who... I get that sometimes people think, oh, you must have just never had any dealings with criminals. No. They took the camera that had irreplaceable footage of me as a child, which I personally didn't, at least at the time, think that much about, but it was clearly upsetting to my parents. So no, I'm not saying there's nothing there. I'm saying white collar criminals are still worse. Now, yeah, so so I'm never going to finish that sentence, am I? The reason that I'm not thinking, oh, I guess every, non-white collar criminal in the entire show is just going to be a person of color, which is obviously a racist thing to, because like there's plenty of white people who are, violent criminals. So that's... But the reason why is because it adds to Jeffrey's character. And I think that might... I think I'll just finish off this entire subplot immediately, because, yeah, Very clever to have the, you know, like, yeah, he wants, there's a tax. And, you know, yeah, Darius knew that Jeffrey wouldn't pay up because he knows him that well. So, yeah, genuinely clever, because the thing about the phone, like, yeah, it seemed believable. But yeah, like, he clearly, you know, he put the phone next to one of those devices that copies. I actually don't know if those exist in real life or just on TV shows, but there was one on Prison Break. So, and probably Alias, right? At some point, I don't remember everything about that show, but it feels like something that would have been on there. Anyway, but yeah, you know, he threatens, you know, says all that'll be left is the recipe. And I think that and that was also nicely done, you know, because they're careful to not drop the facade until, you know, they look disappointed until they're out of sight, out of mind for Jeffrey. And I think that does bring us to yeah, I thought they did a good job on the thing with, you know, so Kara, did I accidentally call her Carolina? I'm not used to the I in, you know, when that's the spelling to be pronounced as an E, but in this one they definitely called her Carolina, so I'll try to call her that from now on. But yeah, Carolina, you know, walks off saying it's, you know, it's like you don't, you know, yeah, she has the thing with her mom. And then, you know, yeah, now we're seeing was after that, and we see that, so in the universe of this show, Kip Pardue used to be like, you know, uh yeah, someone that a number of women was really attracted to. So I guess he can't quite shake that image from the rules of attraction. But yeah, the thing about, you know, you're my agent. You don't fire me, I fire you. And, you know, the other guy's like, that works too. Listen, he has to go take care of, you know, his daughter's cat and Bianca. And the nutty professor is really being a hassle for him. Seriously though, my wrists are too sore to check right now, but I'm afraid I forget his name, but I really like that actor. He's always so funny. Actually, yeah, I think this is the one role I've seen him in where he didn't make me laugh, or more than the one. The thing about, you know, um, eh, I fire you, you fire me, whatever, whichever works. And oh, right. And he, yeah. Let's see. Okay, never mind. Moving on. So but yeah, we have the thing about, you know, the fact that she owns the church. He doesn't. He's not partial. And yeah, so he says, you know, oh, her dad negotiated the deal right before he died, and I think I might know who the person in that bed is now. Let's see. I think the and yeah, he is not a member of Pride. I will say I thought that was consistent, all of the parents. But yeah. Uh I'm still not sure. I think for now I'm still going to call them the Six. I don't know that it feels right to call them Runaways yet, because they're still living with their parents. Although they did temporarily run away from them at the start of this episode. No, I don't know. It feels like a stretch. And let's see. I think, does that pretty much bring us to the yeah? And we have the thing about, so he says, oh, actually, no, yeah. Let's go with here. The thing about, I'd like to go, I'd like to combine and go Ultra Mega Man. And she's like, it's nice that you're toying with it. And he's like, no, I'm being serious. So yeah, he's not quite being taken seriously. And let's see. I think that might... Right, yes. So with her, she's told, well, Destiny is missing, and so yeah, she gets there in time to capture Destiny. And there's the thing about, and it is, I thought they did a decent job on that. The thing about, well, you said you didn't have anyone. Well, I couldn't have been a mother to my daughter, so it was like I had no one. That's a decent way to, because like I can imagine the fact that she said she had no one is probably part of the selection process. So yeah, um, let's see. I think that is, and yeah, she says, oh, but you can go Ultra though, which, like, that's the thing with cults, sometimes. I mean, she wasn't leaving because she thought of it as a cult, but even so. So Destiny went, like, this was, yeah, this was after, so after Destiny was prevented from going home to her daughter, she then tells Church Mom's daughter how to rebel. Okay, you do you. Also, she is said to be 17, Destiny, I mean, and she says she has a 3-year-old daughter. 3 from 17 is 14, quick maths. That's, yeah, sadly, that is, like, obviously too early of an age to be having kids, and that, further illustrates, like, yeah, she was not doing okay in her situation back there. Like, that's way too young. There's, like, medical concerns, and at that age you're just not ready for that kind of responsibility. So yeah, it's a, yeah. And she's been, oh, I couldn't miss another birthday. And yeah, Church Mom lies and says she'll, just a few more days, which she is not necessarily expecting to be true. I think that does bring us to the, let's see. Who does that leave? Was there much of anything with, right, with the, yeah, so the, let's see. The, yeah, right, I will also say, so in this, I'm not sure they said it in the first episode, but in this one, they specifically refer to it as the Pride. I thought it was just Pride. But that's, so like Lion King stuff, I guess, kind of thing. That's it's evocative, certainly. I don't the faintest clue why that's what they're calling themselves yet, but maybe I will. I'm intrigued for sure. But yeah, hippie parents, you know, talking about like, this jerk that drives you. You're a big, strong man. Mm-hmm. So in the universe of the show, Nemo is like Tesla, I guess. And I know some people will say, in 2017, we didn't know yet that Elon was a Nazi. Yeah, but like it goes back some years that we shouldn't like trust him or anything. Um yeah, and it was a fun bit of like setup and payoff that here, like this early in the episode we have the thing about, the she's always making jokes about my homemade brie. And he's like, but it's delicious. And then later it's like, there's still a lot of brie left. I wonder why. See, I told you. Um, but yeah, they did also make a reference to that in the first episode. I remember, thinking, who makes their own brie? Something along those lines. Yeah. I think that does. Yeah, I like the thing about you can't like play hooky with the pride. And let's see. Or wait, maybe Nemo is not supposed to be a Tesla. Maybe it's more like a muscle car. Never mind. Um, yes, I think right. Scientist dad. So yeah, he runs the machine, and the mouse is still in the house, and the yeah, there's the headache because of the machine, and he's like, you shouldn't be here, which is also what he says to Destiny later, so I'm a little worried if she's still okay. I mean, maybe somebody else grabbed her phone and is texting to Carolina to reassure her, but now I think that might bring us, but yeah, and the thing about, the machine has to be ready for tonight. So yeah, evidently like off screen he was working hard to get the machine working, so he felt like it might work there for later, but seems like it might not have. And yeah, that does bring us right. And yeah, and you have the thing about like she's like, maybe need some help. And he's like, help? Who would help me? Well, depends on what you're asking for. If it's with controlling your temper, not Donald Trump. And yeah, I think that does bring us to the actual, yeah. So they meet up in the evening, and Jeffrey points out she's 17. And someone else is like, they usually are. That's that's how we do this. And then you have the thing about, and he's like, yeah, but now that's the age our kids are, doesn't that bother anybody else? And the yeah, Jeffrey keeps, expressing concern throughout the ritual, and each time his badass wife shoots him a look that's like, don't embarrass me in front of the cult, as they're sacrificing someone to save someone's life, I think it is. And yeah, so we have the, but yeah, I mean, I was wondering if I mean, they do seem to actually love their kids, and Yeah, because I was like thinking like, what? I mean, if they're like villains, why are they like? Do they love their kids, or did they have these kids because they have this anxiety about like birth rates, which doesn't seem to be the case, but I still feel like plugging. Philosophy Tube did a recent fantastic video on, let's see, I think it is called "You're Wrong About Birth Rates and Population Decline." I think it was called something along those lines. Yeah. Again, risk to source check right now. Yes, I think that does bring us to the. Let's see. Right, and I think I was a little too fast talking about in my video on the first episode. The this thing about like, so yeah, you have the thing about I said, if you want to appeal to teenagers, saying that their parents might be evil, or yeah, might be a way to appeal to them. Obviously, in real life, thankfully, many parents are not, bad parents, and may not choose evil outside of parenting either. Just to be clear, I'm not one of those people who think, yeah. Think that does bring us to the okay. Let's get this over with. So the actual ritual was genuinely upsetting, just disturbing. So church mom goes in and gets Destiny, and yeah, first she's put off by who are these people? I don't recognize them from the church. And I think they're doing a really good job of showing like this is genuinely like, to the actual Pride members, this is like, you know, absolutely nothing. They've done this so many times that they're not even like, Jeffrey points out about the age thing, but none of them are like, okay, should we maybe like talk her through this, and then, out comes the chalice, not of souls, but of anesthetic, and yeah, she's like, I don't know about this, and they, and let's see, yeah, she starts to drink a little, and then she's like, it tastes bad, and church mom, this woman that she's trusted, and that's not, to be clear, I'm talking about the trust thing. I'm talking about the fact that this is like, they're it seems like a cult of some kind. The Pride, certainly in some ways they are like a cult. Let's go with no. For now, I'm going with cult. I'm not talking about like, women, you trust them, and then no. On the contrary, au contraire, mon frère. But yeah, she built up this trust, and now she's abusing it as cults do. And yeah, forcing her to drink a bunch more, and it like they do such a great job because it's meant to be really, really off-putting, and it's one of those things, at a TV-14 rating, there's only so far they can, like, how much can they really depict of this sort of thing, but it still manages to feel like a violation, because that's that's part of what's happening here. And yeah, one thing they can show for that kind of thing on a TV-14 is someone being forced to drink something they don't want to. So yeah, and then they pick her up and they put her in the thing as she's asking them not to, and asking why she can't feel her legs or her arms, and just, yeah, really, really, really well done. Yeah, I that it feels like they're pushing the TV-14 rating pretty far, because it is still, like, even if they're not showing more, it's still upsetting, in a way that, like, yeah, wouldn't necessarily have thought they could get away with on a TV-14. Oh, don't worry about me. Like, I watch, like, hard R. I'm a big fan of David Cronenberg, John Carpenter. Just, I'll be fine. But yeah, and it is like, obviously this exact situation is not going to happen to the vast majority of people, but you know there's this idea among a lot of really obnoxious paternalistic people that, like, oh, before you're 18 you just can't handle this, that, and the other thing. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot they cannot, there's a lot there that they shouldn't see before they turn 18. But I remember being a kid and being, like, annoyed with the Saturday morning cartoons when they talked down to me and the others, and I wasn't the only one. Like, a lot of us were like, oh, that was a cool episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just wish couldn't they have them fighting with something other than the ingredients to make a pizza. Like, they're all running around with these, like, weapons, and they don't really use them against each other ever. Like, just, yeah. Yeah. Just, holy crap. And then I guess that brings us to the, yeah. So, you have the Flash, and I thought they did a good job also of making it, credible and clear. I thought it was the right choice that we weren't quite sure if they perceived who was there flashing. But yeah, in this episode it's very clear, oh no, they did not see. And we also don't see until close to the end of the episode. No, they didn't see. They just saw the Flash, from the phone, not the DC character. And yes, I think that brings us to the let's see. We have the one thing about, so, okay, so the fact that they're apparently naked under the robes, okay, sure, fine. That adds to this feeling like a cult ritual kind of thing, more than like a science thing, because, like, yeah. Moving on. Couldn't help but notice, for as much of we see, like, two of the women, we see, like, in bras, but we don't really see that much skin of the men. That feels like one of those annoying double standards. What was that quote? Men act, women are acted upon. It's something along those lines. It's yeah. I think that brings us. It felt very male gazy, is what I'm trying to say. Yes, I think that brings us to the so yeah, we go back to after the what's the word? Um, uh, after it's right on the tip of my tongue. After the yeah yeah. So all the lights go out, and we clearly see this time Alex you know yeah flipping them, and then he runs to the guest house and is like, I tripped the breaker. Um, Maybe they'll think a fuse blew. And then Jock, this frickin' guy, always with the, he's like, or that your plan did. Okay, that's not the worst line. I appreciate that they're at least giving him, amusing lines if he's going to be such a jerk. And again, like I can, this means he has, there's room for him to have an arc. He could become a really good person by the end of the show. Um, yes. So and it is. I mean, technically, the parents couldn't possibly have been out of there fast enough to be sure that it wasn't a fuse blowing based on seeing light. I do also like that, where the six were like, oh, how do we get this door open? Um, there's apparently a button, but that's like, yeah, who's gonna look for a button in the middle of that kind of, yeah. I think that does bring us to, yeah, and the thing about like, okay, but we can't just be standing here looking like something weird just happened. And I like the thing about, Molly like yawning and Gert being like, I'm sorry, Molly, are we boring you? That also did feel like very sibling energy. But the yeah, and okay, I have an idea. Does it involve waking up Molly? And yeah, I think that does bring. But yeah, so they did actually end up playing Twister, like when they were 12. Um, and the thing about like, there's some, what was the line? It was something like, is everything's okay in here? And Molly's like, I don't know. Nico just hit green. So it's about to get a little, yeah. Wow. I mean, it sounds like the kind of thing a teenager might say, especially if they're like, ugh, parents, I'll get rid of them. I'll say something to them that'll make them run away screaming thinking about it. Um, let's see. And I think that might be about what the, let's see. Um, yeah, and the thing about, well, parents are leaving, so if anybody needs a ride, now's the time. And what was the other thing? Then we have the thing about the thing, and the thing. The other thing that I really wanted to say there was the, yeah, they the thing about the texts, which I will say at first the way it was edited did feel a tiny bit uneconomical. The show so far has largely been economical in its editing, but we see several people independently receive the text. Like for each of them, we see their, phone screen as they read the text off. But then with Carolina, it was important that we see, because otherwise we wouldn't have seen her texting um, Destiny, So yeah, what a fateful name she ended up having. Yeah, it was very sweet. The thing about, can I sleep in here tonight? You're supposed to not act weird. Our parents won't know, and just, can you sing me the song again? It's been so long. Yeah, but please. That was genuinely sweet. And I think also after the first episode, we needed to see Gert. It didn't have to be in that episode, but it was smart of them to, in this episode, have her, somewhat more sweet. Especially, maybe, well, let's see. Okay, it doesn't specifically have to be with Molly, but yeah, in the first episode, she did not say very many sweet things. Just there was the thing about like trying to start a club that everyone could join, but outside of that, there wasn't really. Yeah, I think that brings us to the let's see. That is also, it was slightly amusing with how many people we saw. Alex and Tex too. We didn't see, and it's of course because they're trying to fall asleep and one of them is singing, but we didn't see Gert and Molly get a text. So I guess not everybody's equally welcome. And no. Yeah, the thing about, Nico and Alex talking was really great. The thing about, it's always been just you and your parents, but I used to have, one person in my house that would take my side sometimes, and just, yeah. And I think that pretty much, yeah. The thing about, Molly pointing out to Gert, you've never sounded so happy in your life. You're not doing a good job of being, of not acting weird. And so at one point in the episode, Gert says that her parents aren't in a cult. They're not evil. Their biggest quirk is listening to Weird Al for pleasure. Gert, that cut deep. Am I old? But I do remember reading someone pointing to that line and saying, "Is that really what a teenager would say?" But I don't know. Let's see. In 2017, was that before? There was something around that time. He had an album and a tour, but it might have been later than that. Was that 2018 maybe? I forget. Anyway, I've tried to listen to, I guess I've listened to any Weird Al song that I've come across, really, in the 20 plus years that I've been listening to him. Anyway, but I just don't remember the years that well. Yeah, that brings us to the yeah. So I think their last name was Dale. Let's go with that. So yeah, he goes up and like knocks several times on the door, and then we see inside, and dear old dad is like, what is going on? And his he can't get access to that room, and then up comes the the guy who got a promotion, and he was like, I gave a thumbs up to your promotion. And then he's like, yes, you did, because I'm so good and upholding the rules of Mrs. Dale, and he's like, Mr. Dale, you're not Mrs. Dale. There's an S missing from, otherwise you would be. And I will say I was a little bit, so I don't know if that's, oh right, just real quick, love the brief glimpse of the Velociraptor. Looking forward to finding out what the deal is with that whole, yeah. But yeah, he knocked 3 times on the door, and then Destiny did from inside the device. So, like, I'm gonna be real. There was like, until, because like, yeah, as far as I can tell, it's still Destiny in there, same as was the deal with the mouse. That was also a nice bit of, because like, yeah, we didn't know if he had fixed the machine or if he was just hoping, and I guess he was just hoping. Because it's one of those things, I gotta say, I'm a mark for. I love when TV shows do that, where like at one point in the episode we see one thing, and then later, it's like, did they fix it in the interim? Do they know what the yeah. Prison Break used that device so well, in my opinion. But the yeah, as far as, yeah, that is Destiny in there. So I did briefly wonder, wait, is he gonna open that thing and it's gonna be Church Mom's, or Mrs. Dale's dad? Maybe is that, because the knock repeating, but I think it's just that they didn't really think about it while filming, and I appreciate, if you're trying to get in somewhere, knocking 3 times like that, yeah, sure, it doesn't feel like an unreasonable, yeah. I think that might cover, yeah, really, really excited to see the yeah, because like Jeffrey definitely has, he could deduce that at least one of them was, I guess, if Alex really has a silver tongue, maybe he can convince them that it was just that one of them snuck off, but then he caught her and said, "You're not supposed to be in there," and she agreed, turned, and walked out, maybe, or I don't know. But otherwise, this could really mean that they have to hide from, yeah. I think that pretty much covers, yeah, and excited to, I appreciate this is one of those cases where, like, we, the viewer, know about as little. Like, we know a little bit more, but not much more than what the six know, about what's going on with their parents. It can work really well when the audience knows more, but way more, I mean. But I think this is one of those cases where it's good that we're just finding out, like, piece by piece as they do. So we're not just waiting for them to catch up or having them catch up too quick so that we're not way ahead of them for too long, that sort of thing. Right. When the guy says, Mr. Dale, you're not supposed to be up here, I'm just thinking, listen, dude, I'm playing Hitman 2016 right now. If it's anything like this, all you're doing is trespassing. You're not in a hostile area. You just gotta go to the part, to the spot that he tells you to. It'll probably, there might be even like a a HUD UI indicator or something, you go there, you're in the clear. You're fine. Now, I think that does pretty well cover, yeah. I I feel like there was one more thing I really wanted to say, but what was it? Oh, right. It occurred to me after, so in my video on the first episode, something that when I recorded that, I was saying, so is the idea that the only people Alex ever played video games with are the Six and Amy back when she was alive? The two of them have not played very much together since then. Do you think ghosts can play video games? Because like sometimes in media they can like affect objects. So yeah, maybe. But but yeah, because like we see the shot where it says none of your friends are online. I have, since recording that video, thought maybe the idea is just that he would have been okay playing the game with someone other than the five of the six, but absolutely no one was online, which, like, I don't know. It's possible in that case. I think he might need more online friends. Like, anyway, I think that might just about cover as a yeah. So during the entire bit where you know Jock's mom is making excuses for his dad, throughout that entire scene, he's like, oh, but he knows I could kick his ass, and then he says like, ugh, the only thing Dad is a genius at is being a platinum card carrying member of the Jerk Brigade. And each time he like is going off on one of these, like, I keep expecting him to go, he's right behind me, isn't he?